The SGA election results are in, but a last-minute disqualification of a presidential candidate brings controversy to GSU politics. Changes are being made to student housing on Georgia State's campus. Find out how you and your roommates may be affected. Students planning to take classes this summer may feel uneasy about registration fees. Panther Report uncovers if you can receive financial aid for summer classes on this week's Panther Report. Good evening, Georgia State. I'm Richard Moy. Christian Hill, the former SGA presidential candidate and vice president of student services, was removed from his position last week following the SGA elections. Stephanie Twom has the controversial story.
Team Impact had a sweeping victory with the SGA elections, holding more than half of the available positions in office. Last week, we were here covering the SGA debate, and results are now posted. But they were posted a day later than we're supposed to, with some shocking results. Christian Hill, presidential candidate, was disqualified, while his running mate, Ashley Epperson, is now president. We tried to reach out to Epperson, but due to conflicting schedules, we were unable to do so. However, we're able to get in touch with one of the senators of College Arts and Sciences, Drake Greer, and we discussed his goals and plans of his new position.
Well, part of Team Impact, one of the things I really wanted to focus on was Panther Pride, and that definitely extended into a lot of other things as well. That extended into housing, because a main key component of having a great university is great housing.
We also got in touch with presidential runner-up Andrew White to discuss his election experience.
It was amazing. Having that platform to talk about that, which I plan to do for the student government, was amazing. And I think having a new president now, them hearing what was said and intertwining what they wanted to say with what I said and what other people said to kind of go through their presidency would be a great thing for Georgia State.
Not much is known at this point. However, Ashley Epperson will choose her vice president very soon. Reporting from University Center, Stephanie Twom, Panther Report.
The school's newspaper, The Signal, is reporting that Christian Hill's SGA dismissal was due to an altercation between him and a Phi Beta Sigma fraternity brother. University documents say Hill forcefully pulled him from a car after a verbal argument, causing the victim to dislocate his arm. Hill initially admitted responsibility for pulling the victim from the car. He has appealed the case to President Becker. The Signal reports Hill actively campaigned without disclosing any details about the case as the Dean of Students investigated. Students planning to live on campus next semester may be facing changes. Cedric Alexander has more on the story.
With the growing population of Georgia State students and the rise in tuition, many students are concerned about how housing will be affected in the fall of 2013.
Placing emphasis on the lofts this year. Each year we choose a building to where we work on upgrades. And this year the loft students, those who choose to live in the loft, will see new carpet. They'll see, we're actually bringing that building offline this summer, so we're going to give us an opportunity to get in and paint it totally on the inside. We'll do new carpet in the hallways. We're looking at upgrading the resource room that's there where the students can go and study. We're actually trying to add more computers in there since we're seeing there's a high need for it and there's high usage there. And then this fall and spring, we also upgraded their laundry facility. So the loft is going to be looking pretty good when they return.
With more off-campus housing being built around the city, students may want to consider living off-campus, where costs may be a little bit less. Currently live on campus?
I do not.
Okay, and why is that?
It's too expensive, so I live at home.
Students currently have the option to live in Patton Hall, Piedmont North, the Commons, or University Lofts if they choose to live on campus. For more information, you can contact the University Housing Department in Suite 250 of the Student Center. For GSTV Panther Report, Cedric Alexander.
Thanks to a $5 million grant from the Robert W. Woodruff Foundation, Georgia State University has now raised enough money to build a new College of Law building. The $82.5 million project will be off of Peachtree Street, just south of the Georgia Pacific Center Tower. Eventually, the J. Mac Robinson College of Business plans to move to the same block. The state-of-the-art facility will have a 230-seat formal courtroom, a law library of the future, collaborative learning spaces, and legal clinics for the underserved. Students planning on taking Maymester or summer classes might want to double-check the financial aid requirements. Shanice Mason finds out how much financial aid covers summer courses.
It's nearing the end of the semester for GSU students, and that means it's time to get your financial aid in order for future semesters. An important change to note for financial aid is that effective summer of 2013, students must now complete a FAFSA application in order to receive Hope and Zell Miller scholarships. Many students think of summer semester as a way to catch up on classes at a slightly cheaper price, only to find out that's not exactly the case.
I am not taking any summer classes just because they're so expensive. I feel like just for me to take about one science class, it'd be about $1,200 or $1,400.
But for those students who are taking summer classes, how do the costs add up for them?
I registered for 2 classes, and they're charging me as much as they charged me for about 5 classes during the fall semester, which is a pretty big difference in prices.
The bigger question on students' minds is the possibility of getting financial aid for the summer.
If it's that expensive for just 2 classes, I'm guessing I don't have any financial aid. So no, I guess it doesn't carry over into the summer semester.
Reporting from GSU, this is Shanice Mason for Panther Report.
Coming up next, Atlanta's street vendors are facing a loss of licenses after Atlanta's street vending policy is ruled out by a Fulton County court. And the pollen count has been in the thousands. What effects has this had on students? And what a school nurse says to do to ease your allergy symptoms.
Does it feel like your alarm clock goes off earlier every morning? Do you have trouble waking up? Have you seen a doctor about this? If not, you can get your daily dose of caffeine at Saxby's.
Street vending will no longer be permitted to operate at Turner Field, 5 Points, or the Georgia Dome. Alexis Carthen has more on how the city is cracking down on street vendors.
After a court order in December eliminated the city's vending regulations, police officers have been informing would-be vendors of the laws restricting the selling of merchandise in the city. These constraints have been seen in places like Little 5 Points and right here in Turner Field.
Mayor Kasim Reed and his staff have effectively been cleaning the city of street vendors, especially as they were in preparation of the Final Four games and other events expected to come to Atlanta. Unless given a permit or on the private property of a business, all vending is prohibited.
They work and they have families, they try to feed their families, but I don't understand where the city's coming from because it is a thing where it's tax dollars and you have to pay taxes on that and you have to pay property taxes as well, but the property taxes and Atlanta taxes are pretty high.
Mayor Reed's senior policy advisor says the best thing to do in response to the lack of regulations is to temporarily suspend the vending program because we have no way to regulate it.
That could be some of our families. So that could be affecting us only because some of the students in our school, that could be their families that are on the corner trying to vend for their education.
Reporting from Georgia State University, Alexis Carthen, Panther Report.
14 people were injured last week after being stabbed by a student at Lone Star College. The community college in Northwest Houston went on lockdown after 20-year-old student Dylan Quick began attacking students. Quick was taken down by a group of students and arrested. The young man, who said he had been planning the attack for some time, waived his right to a probable cause case on Thursday. Quick remains in custody and is currently under suicide watch. With the pollen count up over 8,000 this past week in Atlanta, students have been struggling with allergies. Allergists say that anything above 1,500 is extremely high. Catherine Witherspoon finds out how students are coping with springtime allergy symptoms.
Spring is in the air, and with spring comes pollen, and then the dreaded allergic reaction that causes many to experience a variety of symptoms.
I'm really only allergic to pollen, so like around this time my eyes swell up and like itch, and it's very uncomfortable actually.
A real bad day, I probably have a sinus headache because my nose will start running. I have a headache, I can't walk, I'm a little drowsy and things like that, so it gets pretty bad sometimes on the worst days. So.
Well, this past week has been terrible. The pollen count has been in the thousands. Yesterday I think it was like 8,000 some odd. What most people are suffering from now because of the pollen is called environmental allergy, because it's around you. There's no rhyme or reason who gets allergic, who doesn't. It's just your makeup.
Is this yellow residue that we see on our cars, that gets on our clothes, that causes the reaction. If you have an allergic reaction to pollen, Nurse Marcia Hughes with Georgia State Student Health Center has this advice.
Make sure before you go in the house, take your shoes off at the door. Yes, ma'am, leave the pollen at the door. Otherwise, you're going to attract the pollen all over the house. And you need to go take a shower as soon as you reach home. Wash the pollen off. All those clothes you have on are covered in pollen if you've been walking around.
Need tips for allergy proofing your home? Go to www.mayoclinic.com/health/allergies. I'm Catherine Witherspoon, Panther Report.
A deadly shooting last Thursday took place during rush hour traffic on I-20. Witnesses say that shots were fired from a white SUV that fled the scene. The victim was driving a Maybach, a rare and expensive luxury vehicle, when he was shot. An off-duty firefighter was the first on the scene and broke the car's rear window in an attempt to help. The man, identified as James B. Lewell, was taken to Grady Memorial Hospital but later died of critical gunshot wounds. Police do not have any suspects or motives. 4 firefighters were taken hostage in Sewanee last Wednesday after responding to an apparent medical emergency. Upon entering the house, they were taken hostage at gunpoint, one officer being shot in the leg. The gunman, whose house was foreclosed, made demands to turn his electricity and phone lines back on. After a 3-hour-long standoff, police used explosives to enter the house, killing the gunman. All 4 firemen escaped with non-life-threatening wounds. Stay tuned for your Panther Report Sports Update.
Welcome and thanks for tuning in to GSTV. We are the Executive Board members of Student Government Association, and my name is Marcus Kernizan, your president.
I'm Taylor Briggs, the Executive Vice President.
My name is Christian Hill, Vice President of Student Services.
My name is Adriana Michoni. I'm your Vice President of Academic Affairs.
My name is Theo Muhamuza. I'm your Vice President of Budget and Finance.
I'm Danielle Kleiman, and I am your Vice President of Public Relations.
My name is Jarrell Abrams, and I am your Vice President of Student Life.
Are you worried about your schedule getting in the way of the educational and cutting-edge seminars that Georgia State University has to offer? Well, we have great news for you. Starting this semester, these seminars will be available online thanks to GSTV and a partnership from us here at Student Government Association. From the prospect of resume building to the distinctive keynote speakers, we know that these seminars will help enrich your student experience.
Thanks for tuning in, and remember, our student government sit-in meetings will be broadcast live on GSTV every other Thursday at 7 p.m. Go Panthers!
Good evening, I'm Sean White with your Panther Report Sports Update. The GSU men's tennis team defeated Troy 5-2 on Senior Day and honored seniors Lucas Santana and Victor Valenti. Valenti and Santana are ranked number 44 in the ITA National Doubles Rankings. The win was very significant because the two improved to 13-1 on the season in doubles play. The team will be competing in the Sun Belt Conference Championship this weekend as the number 2 or 3 seed. The Georgia State Sand volleyball team concluded the Fiesta on Siesta Key tournament on Sunday with the pairs tournament in 3 different brackets. The team opened the tournament with a 4-1 win over Florida Atlantic to improve 7-7 in the inaugural season. The Panthers have 1 tournament and 1 duel remaining in their regular season. They will travel to Tallahassee to the Florida State University tournament April 20th, followed by a trip to Louisiana Monroe on April 27th. First-year football head coach Trent Miles is looking forward to the GSU football upcoming season. I sat down with Coach Miles and talked about his expectations for the 2013 season.
My expectations are to teach this team how to compete and figure out what we have and just get them to play as hard as they possibly can on every play and in every game and execute the best that we can. That's our expectation, is to teach them how to compete. Anytime you're making the jump from 1AA to Division I is extremely tough. When you add tenfold to that when you've only been playing football for 3 years. So it's going to be a very tough transition until we understand the level of competition and where we've got to go and the things we have to do.
The defensive line was one of the main issues that you all were trying to focus on. Between the senior tackle Theo Agnew and the nose guard Terrence Woodard, how big do you think they'll play a part in the defense this year?
Well, I mean, barring injury and making sure that we're both eligible, which they should, then they should play a big role in it. You know, they've got the most experience and they're talented young men that, with some good size, that have shown a passion for the game and done a really good job this spring. So, you know, we're looking forward to seeing them in action when we get the chance to play, and we need leadership from them.
In national sports, there seems to be more bad news for the Lakers. Lakers star Kobe Bryant had surgery on Saturday to heal the torn Achilles tendon in his left leg and is predicted to need 6 to 9 months to recover. Bryant fell on the court with 3 minutes and 8 seconds left in the fourth quarter Friday night while being guarded by the Warriors' Harrison Barnes. Bryant is set to make $30.4 million next season in the final year of his contract. Kobe commented saying, "I was just hoping it wasn't what I knew it was. MRI, surgery, and then recovery." The annual Masters tournament, held right here in Augusta, Georgia, came to a week-long close this past Sunday. Adam Scott became the first Australian to win the tournament. Scott and Angel Cabrera both chipped close for par on the 18th and the first playoff hole, until Scott stroked in a 12-foot birdie putt on the second playoff hole to win the legendary green jacket. Scott shot a 69 under to redeem himself after failing last summer to win the Open Championship. Speaking of the Masters tournament, 14-year-old Chinese 8th grader Tianlang Guan became the lowest amateur in this event and the youngest to finish a round of 3 over 75 and finish 12 over for the tournament. He made the 36-hole cut on Friday and is the second winner of the Asia Pacific Amateur Championship. When Guan was asked about turning pro, he said, "I've not decided yet, but it won't be too early because there's still a lot of things to learn and improve." San Diego Padres hitter Carlos Quentin has let go of his appeal and is starting an 8-game suspension for running the mound and inciting a brawl in which Los Angeles Dodgers pitcher Zach Greinke broke his left collarbone. Quentin rushed the mound after he was hit in the upper left arm by a pitch that got away from Greinke. He has missed the Padres' 3-game series that began on Monday night. Quentin says the suspension is very difficult, but he believes he had to protect himself. I'm Sean White, and this has been your Panther Report Sports Update.
Thanks for joining us. That's all for this week's Panther Report news. Don't forget to check us out on Channel 91 and University Housing and on our YouTube page, GSTV Panther Report, every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Make sure to like us on Facebook at facebook.com/Panther Report. I'm Richard Moy. Have a good week.